And welcome back here on Adobe Live. We are live from Barcelona, from the OFF Festival, the OFF conference. It's one of the largest creative conferences in the whole of Europe. And for the next hour, we'll be together with the new Adobe Creative residents. Fresh residents here. How are you guys?
Good.
Yes. So we have Laura Zelenka, we have Nadine Colozzi, with the English accent, Colozzi,
Colozzi,
yes,
that's right.
and Isabel Lee.
Hey, you said my name right.
Yeah, I said your name right. I trained a lot. Yeah, so we're going to have an opportunity during the next 60 minutes to get to know the new creative residents, to know a little bit more about the creative residency and what that is all about. But basically, it is a program that we've had at Adobe for 4 years now, starting in the US, where as Adobe we actually give up-and-coming creatives at the beginning of their career the opportunity to work on a dream project for a whole year. All right, and that includes. That includes, of course, the money that is needed for that. That includes a lot of cool things like being able to come to OFF. And is it the first time at OFF?
For me, yeah.
Yes. First time at
First
OFF.
time.
It's not going to be the last time, right?
Hopefully.
It's a pretty cool conference. And yes, so there's a whole bunch of benefits. There's, of course, very close to Adobe, so whenever they have problems or issues or questions about the software that we make, they're really close to the source. They also spend a lot of time talking with the product teams and in giving them ideas, maybe about future products and stuff like that. So hello everyone in the chat. If you have any questions for the creative residents, make sure to ask them here in the chat, and we will be answering them.
Yeah.
So, who wants to start? What is this creative residency for you? Eeny, miny, miny,
I can start.
You can start.
Yeah,
okay.
For me,
Nadine.
yeah, I'm coming from a bit of a more arty background because I studied in an art university. And so I'm in between art and design, and that's always kind of a problem because customers are like, oh, you're too free, or you're not applied enough. And that's like, for me, always a thing to weigh the both. And I think with the residency, for me, it's a moment where I could just do what I want, and I'm supported, and that's like the best thing, that you don't have to put yourself in boxes, but just to be free, to have the capacity to just do research and get your work on the next level. Yeah.
Cool. Nice quick introduction.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Isabel?
so I think for me, the residency, I only just graduated in 2017, and I started a studio, but the residency year really gives me this space to, play a little bit and experiment and have a lot of support. The support is really important for me, to have access to all these amazing people who are willing to just help you push your project as much as it can, so you don't feel so like you're doing it on your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, almost like a client, but not.
Almost, a client who lets you do what you want.
A nice client.
A nice client.
Yeah.
Laura.
I guess I always say for me it's a chance and a challenge at the same time. And I think for me, whenever in the past years I had a challenge, it was what made me grow the most. So I'm really looking forward for the challengey part of this year. And really work on it and grow with a challenge.
So we have 3 residents in Europe, 2 in Germany. Again, we had 2 residents in Germany last year as well. And very new is 1 resident from the UK, Isabel. So the program is expanding also in the EU. And in the US we have 4 other residents as well, right?
Yes.
So we have, and it's all different disciplines, different things that each resident does. So it is really, really interesting to actually follow their work and their passion for creativity. Another thing that we ask our creative residents to do, of course, is to share their experiences, to share their workflows, to share the way they work, they think, and that can be an interesting thing for everybody following the Adobe Creative Residents. So, did you notice any? I saw you laughing.
I was just checking out. I was laughing that I was just looking around you.
Okay, yes. So we have Adobe Live posting all the links. Okay. Hello, Nayan. Hello, Dave. Hello, Jana. Can't believe it's Laura Zelenka in the stream. I just discovered her photography a few days ago.
Wow.
Yay.
Hello,
Okay,
Jana.
Jana.
I guess it sounded a
Jana,
little German,
yes.
so
Okay.
I'm only assuming.
Oh, and Simon says, amazing Instagram, Laura. I love her photos. Oh, she's so awesome. Okay, so Laura, why don't we start with you since the chat is focused on you right now? Maybe we can talk a little bit like who you are, what your background is, and what your big project is.
Yeah. So I'm a photographer.
Let me move over here to
Yeah,
your website.
Yeah, I guess that's a good overview. I'm a photographer, focused on portrait, and for all the people who maybe have heard my name before, they probably think about self-portraits when they hear my name, because that's what I'm focused on so far. I actually studied architecture. 10 years ago, I picked up a camera and then started studying architecture. Don't ask me why, because the biggest thing I learned...
Because your parents wanted to do something serious, right? Something.
That's definitely part of the reason. I mean, I also love architecture, and I still do.
Yeah.
But during that study, I really found out, 4 years of super hard work, and the main thing that I found out was that I really want to be a photographer. Mm-hmm. And after that, I really started to be a photographer, and ever since that, I'm doing the things that you can see on my website. And so I guess you can see I love surrealism a little bit. I love to explore landscapes and have bodies intervening with it. I love body language and stuff like that. And for this year, though, it's kind of different. Some people who know another project of mine, it's called 1001 Stranger, where I photograph strangers on the streets of all the cities that I travel to. And that project is going on for some years, and it inspired what I pitched to Adobe. And it was inspired by the fact that the many of the people who I was photographing, the old people were always the ones who said, "Don't take a photo of me, I'm not beautiful anymore." And that made me really sad, because I thought they were super beautiful in their way. And also I had the best conversations with the old people. And that really together, since actually many years, made me want to do a project about age and the beauty of age, the visible part and the invisible part. And I really hesitated to pitch it to Adobe, because I was like, I think they really want a young and fresh project. And that's not what my project is at the first glance. But it was just such a passion project. I was thinking about it for so many years that a friend of mine was like, Laura, do it, because the worst thing that can happen is that they say no. And then I was like, maybe I'll survive a no, and I just pitch it. And it's a relevant topic because our society is getting older and older. So I think maybe we just actually think about it and
it does make sense.
Yeah, and have some interaction with age, because we will hopefully meet age one day in our own life. And so this year I want to take photos and videos of old people. I still have to define my age, that I'm actually approaching.
Yes. How much is old?
Yeah, it's also. I think it's
Rufus old, or is it is it more old?
It's definitely I'm thinking about 70, 80, 90, I think, maybe even 75, starting from there. And but not only the visual part, but also the invisible part, where it's more doing interviews, asking them about what do you love about age, what's the awesome things about age, because I think we're scared of age, and it would be so cool if we managed to change that and not be scared of it, but looking forward to it. But I think in order to do that, we need to find out more about it and learn about the positive sides, and also for the whole society to not be visually so afraid of it, to learn that there is beauty in age. And I guess that's my main focus is this year.
Great. What do you guys think about that?
I think it's a good development from your starting point, because you start by yourself, with yourself as a motive, and now you turn the tables, because you're fresh in your career, just starting, and now you take a look at people which have lived their lives, or which have a lot of experience. So I think I like that connection.
It's the other end,
the two poles, and
Are there any portraits that you can show us of maybe the kind of direction you're going into?
I mean, the thing is, that's also where I'm going, is I want to kind of keep my visual style and then try and incorporate older people. So, I don't know what happened here. Maybe if I refresh
What
it.
happened?
No, it's more the website has a bug. Oh, no, it doesn't have anymore. Perfect.
Oh.
So it's really people like her, and then trying to incorporate her more in in a style like my other style is. She's someone I photographed in the 1001 Stranger project, actually super, super awesome.
Because it started like the 100
yeah,
strangers,
exactly.
right? And then you said, oh, I can't stop. I want to do more. So
because it was so much fun.
It became the 1,000 portrait.
Exactly. And she was one of the earlier ones, but also already one where I was really like, she's so beautiful. And interestingly, her daughter was with her, and in the moment I was taking the photo, she was like, nah, I don't want to. That's also why she's doing the crumpy face kind of. And her daughter was like, come on, you know how to do it, you've been a model. So I'm really assuming she was a model when she was younger. And I think that's interesting to see, because I think there's a massive beauty in her, and it was super fun to shoot with her. So really, like, this is the people I want to have in my photos, but try and also incorporate my style. I don't know. I think there's so much beauty. It's almost crazy that our society...
royal.
Yeah, but also in general, I feel like even the wrinkles, I feel like the whole society is so scared of wrinkles, but it's such a beautiful thing. It gives you so much character and so much story. I don't know. To me, it's like, let's, I don't know, spark society of not looking only at 20-year-old people with no wrinkles and like, I don't know, something should change in our perception of beauty, and I guess trying to be like a little spark somewhere is like all the artists dream of it, I guess.
What do you guys think in the chat about this project? I think it's fascinating, and I'm also very super interested, like, to see the stories you're gonna be gathering, and you know, how this all ties together.
Yeah.
So what's the best way to follow this project?
I think I'm kind of making a all over thing, because I'm really active on Instagram, where I will definitely like cover my travels, and like where I like saying that I'm today gonna visit someone. And
that's very German.
Yeah, I know.
The
I always
visit.
do that. I'm always confusing wedgie and veggie, and all the people who know English very well know that that's a bad like you shouldn't confuse those. So, and there will also be Behance things, and also on my website. So this is kind of a preview thing, and I will exchange that.
Oh, there's a lot of feedback here. Super project. It's an amazing project. What a great project. Really like it.
Yay.
Hello, I'm here from Argentina. Hello, Janina, Argentina. Love the concept and the way you think. Okay,
Thank
so
you.
a lot of support from the chat here.
Also,
Thank you.
if someone, like, I really want to incorporate the community in this project. So if someone has questions they think I should ask the old people in my interviews, I definitely would be super happy if people would send them in. And also if someone has like an interesting grandma, or their former math teacher is like interesting looking or has a super cool story, they can totally pitch them to me if they live in Germany. No, please don't pitch someone from Argentina, because I most likely won't have the chance to fly there.
Yeah,
but if you have someone in Germany who would be cool to be like part of the project, it'd be really, really awesome if you could send me an email.
Yeah, email. Just, I mean, you know, there's many ways to find ways.
Or Instagram, or wherever.
You. Yeah. And another part of your work is also like nature, and how you get into nature, and you know, some of the pictures you showed me from Hawaii, where like with the rocks, the lava and stuff like that, are really fascinating. Maybe you want to elaborate a little bit on that as well.
I can also show something.
Like the other side of Laura, because okay, now this is the project for the residency, but they will, of course, Laura will be continuing, of course, to work on other projects and things like that.
So I guess this is one of the recent ones from Hawaii. I mean, I'm really, really fascinated by just cool locations where it's not like the typical sand, palm tree, sunset thing, but more like the rougher areas, which I really, really loved about Hawaii, and all the lava. And then I always love to have a human being in there, definitely for the size of like getting an idea of how big it is, because I think if there wouldn't be the person, you could also think this is like only this much of rock maybe. I mean, there's the background also giving it away a little bit. But I love to have a human being in it. And then I love dance, I love body language and stuff like that. And just actually, because with my self-portraits, just being in that landscape and being there kind of on your own, it's almost meditative, because you just put your tripod somewhere and set your camera, and then you walk over there and you take some photos and you really enjoy it. And
so you do that all by yourself? Oh wow! I thought maybe there's a whole Zelenka team and
No, I mean, sometimes my boyfriend's with me and helps me, like standing next to the camera and like telling me some things that I should change. But most of the time, like I completely come from the background of doing that all on my own.
So you have the thing in your hand? And
I have my phone actually.
Oh,
like that's
okay.
super awesome. Connecting the phone to the camera, and then you even see this. Like you see the photo on the phone.
Yes.
You can even focus on the phone, and it's amazing. It's like really magical because I started out with having my camera on a tree stump and running back and forth, and didn't even have a remote control.
Yeah, that's technology.
Awesome.
And there's another picture that you showed me of the swimming pool, which I found very cool as well, which is
it on here?
like very unusual picture.
It's not on here. It's probably on my Instagram. Do you
go
mean
there.
or maybe my Flickr? I think it's on my Flickr.
The jumping, like, yeah.
The one with Anthony?
Yeah, I
Over,
think
like
so.
where he's standing on his head?
Yeah. And Maita says, love Laura's work, especially how she lays it out on Instagram. There's a lot of work behind that. Yeah.
That's true.
And very
here
impressive
it is.
projects. Love Laura's work, especially how she. Yeah, no, that we've had that. Oh, and Jana is asking, may I ask which camera you work with?
Oh yeah, I'm working with the Sony A7R2. I think it's so hard to remember that name.
A7R2.
Yeah, because normally you have like just one number or something, but now I'm like A7R2. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, like this is the photo.
Yes.
Yeah, and actually I think most people really think it's done by Anthony doing like jumping in with his like hands in the air, but actually the pool was only like filled with that much of water. And then he like did a normal like a headstand with his hands on the ground, then he like put his arms away and
That must hurt.
Yeah, I think he said it really hurt afterwards. And I was like, I'm really thankful you're doing this and I don't have to do it on my own. Besides the fact that I wouldn't even be able to do that. Yeah, but I love the momentum of that image where you're like, how is that done? Because it's not flipped around because only half of his pants are wet, so that's impossible. So how is it done? Did he really jump in? And then what's all those walls around it? I guess I like when images manage to do that. Well, hopefully. It's hard for me to say because I took it.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Maybe, do you want to show your Instagram very quickly?
Oh, yeah,
Since
sure.
people are talking about
makes
it in the chat.
Instagram. That's the really good thing about having such a complicated last name that you can only type in Laura and Instagram and Zelenka and it's already popping up.
Yep.
Yeah,
Same thing with Rufus.
Yeah, so I'm always doing the rows where, I mean, I really like super, super wide like formats because that's the way we see, right? In real life, we're seeing like from here to here, but only from here to here. So that's why I'm like, if it's portrait, it's really not natural to the way we experience life. That's why I really like the wide format. And obviously I have photos where there's really only a bit of ocean in it.
Yeah.
So the individual photo sometimes doesn't make really sense, but I just love the way it looks on the stream. And I often thought about changing it to one image because with the algorithm on Instagram, I mean, if you really want to only have high numbers on your images, this is really not what you want to do, obviously. But then I thought, to me, it's a lot more important to be me and have my style than having the most numbers out there. Yeah. Sometimes I kind of cheat and have three images that
three
still
different
work.
images,
yeah, but I still made it work with the background, so I guess it's still kind
I
of.
guess it changes now that you can now have like 3 images, like or a couple, like few images in a row, and you can just swipe them through and have the idea of a larger image.
I tried that, but then you have that white thing here, like that little white icon, and that was annoying me so much that I was like, maybe I'm going back to my normal thing.
Yeah, Laura the perfectionist.
Yeah,
like
I
the
know.
little white thing in Instagram.
I still have to figure out how to get less perfectionist. Perfectionist.
Are there any pictures that you want to highlight, or some pictures that have a really cool story behind that
I mean,
you want
that
to
one,
share with
for
our
example,
Adobe Live community?
That one, for example, is on Hawaii, and I like hiking, and I feel like I'm not super easily scared, but that was such a crazy hike because you're really walking on the edge to a massive drop down, and it was raining the day before, so it was really, really muddy. It's one of those images where you don't want to tell your parents how you got there, and also like behind that hole. It's like
You can tell that.
plop,
Oh,
plop,
that's
plop, plop, plop.
photoshopped. That's
Oh yeah, it's actually not. Like there's really this hole in the wall, and I mean it was amazing to just sit there and watch out on this massive landscape behind it. But I wanted to create that eye thing where you like kind of, if you look from the distance, I don't know. I like that. Oh my gosh, and that thing. I'm always, when I'm taking my photos, I'm so focused in what I'm doing that I didn't notice while it was happening. But I got like, literally, this is not a lie, I had like 50 mosquito bites or something like that. Like I have a photo of only my leg, and like it was, it looked like chicken pox. It was absolutely insane, but I only noticed afterwards. So
yep,
I guess
if you go in the mangroves.
yeah, I mean, it was kind of, I should have expected it, but I wasn't thinking. I was just thinking, that's a beautiful tree thing, so let's take photos. And afterwards I was like, I think I'm dying. I wasn't. Yeah. Oh, that's all my
Awesome.
bodysuits.
So please all go and you know, like the Laura Zelenka's Instagram, and do you have Behance as well?
Yeah.
Okay, Behance
It's
everywhere.
same, I mean, it's the same name,
you can
always.
Laura Zelenka, only one.
Yeah, I think really, I'm lucky, and there's no one else.
So great! I'm super curious to see how this project
Me
will
too.
evolve over the next year, and and so stay tuned for more Laura's things and that super cool project about the aging population.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
the aging. Oh yeah, I like that too.
Aging
The aging population.
The aging population.
And it's true.
Awesome. Yeah, there's a whole bunch of more amazing. I just followed you.
Yeah.
Really smart way to present your work on
Thank
Instagram.
you.
Really beautiful work. Thank you. Thank you, chat. Thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
And do you have any comments about Laura? Like
How did
you've
you
known
know right now
you've
we
known
can
her
be
now
so
for 2 weeks now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've been in New York together, and then in Berlin, and now at OFFF.
No, I think we think it's a really cool project, and like wherever we go, she's always stopping people on the street. Like we're like, oh, she's gone, she's taking somebody's photo.
Yeah.
And
Totally know
also,
me.
I think it's very you, and who knows you would be like, okay, yeah, that's the perfect thing for you
Yeah.
to go for. So yeah.
You're always looking at the elderly people, not the
Yeah.
young
Yeah,
people.
I know.
Nadine, do you
Yeah.
want to go next?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We already had a little introduction about you from your, artistic, not designer,
Yeah.
not sculptor, not this, not that. But
Yeah, but still I'm
who is
here.
Nadine?
Yeah, so in my I'm doing illustration and graphic design.
Let's move over
because
to your
yeah,
side.
because always like very colorful and bold positions make me curious. And yeah, that's my website. And
So
I
you
think
can be found here on your
Yeah,
website.
on my
Do you have a
website.
Behance as well?
yeah, fresh Behance. I didn't
Fresh
use
Behance,
it.
okay, a
Quite
fresh
new to
Behance.
this. Hi Behance community. So
Instagram
I'm quite
as well?
new. Yeah, Instagram I use Instagram a lot, and it's good for me to use Instagram because my projects are very process based. So I'm very interested in showing new techniques or new ways of image making. And as you can see, those illustrations, they look like cool vector graphics, nice use of Illustrator, but actually those are like melted plastic, hand cut. And I think it's really nice that people are always like, oh, you're doing this with vectors because it looks so, I know the edges are quite slick, but it's coming from a very hands-on perspective. And that's kind of what I try to always do in my work, to combine something very analog with something very digital, and to have like the opportunity to use pixels in the same way as I use a Photoshop layer, for example. And yeah, maybe I could show you how I work in the studio page. So it looks a bit messy. So that's me, it's a bit older picture. And there's a really like scissor cut without sketches, and then you get those moments like here, if you can see the cursor, where it's like having an overlay. And so you're like, I thought it was Illustrator, so how did that happen? And then I think I'm really interested in this moments where people have to look twice and be like, okay, what kind of effect is this one? Or for example here, this is like chrome foil, which is melted. But if you scan it, it gets like this weird irritation, or like, is it 3D? And people start to stumble and maybe look at it twice, because for illustration, I think most people are looking for one style and making it like their personal I don't know, footprint. But I'm more focused on reinventing myself and having a reset moment and being able to start from scratch. I think of value, and yeah, I try to do that as often as possible. So maybe should I show?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, so this could be a nice example. It's a work I did, and it's called Selfie Park, and it's like a walkable illustration basically, because I was like always doing the layers with the plastic, and then I was like, I want to be inside of that. I want to have different perspectives. I want to walk around it.
There's a whole bunch of super cool, love it.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I was doing this selfie park, and the idea was to have a artificial surrounding where you can do a stroll in, but you could also scroll it if you put it on Instagram, for example, and then you could just go through it using your mobile devices, because we're kind of doing like miles and miles on our devices just doing that. And I think maybe it's a new way of strolling.
Is that a mathematical statistics?
Yeah, of course. They are serious about it.
Miles of swiping?
Yeah, it's like a distance you put. Yeah, really. And I think it's nice to do illustration which is opening those questions and not to be decorative, which is kind of a thing in illustration to be decorative, of course. And also here you can see on the edges, I don't know if you can see it, you have the small stripes, like kind of, it looks like 3D printed, but actually it's like the arrows if I do it by hand, because you always shake a bit, and then like those lines, which look super artificial, like 3D printed, are my hand cutting. So I like those moments. Yeah.
So there's Nayan that says, Nadine, already a fan. That's some dope work.
Thank you.
Yeah. And just joined 5 minutes ago, but already loving the talent on the show. Great work all, from Mike.
Yeah, it's very nice. Yeah, and also in my project for the residency, I want to encourage people, especially for illustration, to not try to find a decorative or fitting style for a client, but more to go into research and to be experimental about yourself and about what you are really professional in, because if you just stay in this very professional way, you can't see anything next to it. And I think it's really good to be, okay, maybe if I turn it like this, it opens a whole new bunch of ideas.
So you're talking about the playfulness.
Yeah, like to be more playful, to be very open and not too stuck about being like a proper single way profile, but more like someone who's curious in development and in growth, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
Awesome. So so this is like an example of 3D, but there's also other things that you want to explore, like augmented reality and things like that. So do you have thoughts about that already?
Yeah, right. Because I work wherever I am. So I'm traveling between Frankfurt and Berlin because I live in both cities. So to be outside is a big part of my work, even though I'm not really working on the way. So I think it would be nice to bring illustration somewhere in my actual surrounding, because that was kind of what I was doing with the selfie park. And augmented reality for me is like a totally new field, and I want to spread like illustration you can discover in the cities of Germany. There will be a tour, and it's called the Undrawn Drawing, so that's my project.
The Undrawn Drawing.
Yeah, right. So to look at illustration which is not necessarily line-based, but something to discover. And I think that's such a cool thing to do, so I'm very excited to get it started, and also to include the new ways we can create now, which is with augmented reality, which is with digital drawing, and to be more open and enhance this new technologies. Yeah.
So basically it would say something, open your phone, go to the app, there's some stuff from Nadine right here. And then you go like, oh.
Yeah, you would find you would find traces and be like, what is it? And then there would be a caption saying, maybe you have to look closer. So you have to come over this point of just next, but you have to go deeper. And I think that's a nice thing.
You can also like walk behind things.
Yeah, or maybe they're on your head and you didn't notice. So you have to swap the thing and be like, oh, it's on me, and I didn't realize.
Awesome.
So I think it's good to be curious and to share that with the community. Yeah. And one idea also was for the selfie park to maybe go to 3 cities and ask the community, like, what shapes are you missing in your daily surrounding? And maybe they would send me different shapes, and Hamburg, for example, would look totally different than Berlin or Munich. And then maybe I could cut surroundings like this park for them, and they could take a walk in the shapes they've been missing in their city.
How big are these pieces of, what are they called, polystyrol?
Yeah, like the biggest one was like 4 meter 50.
Wow.
And this line here is like 2 meters, so it's like it's like environmental kind of. Like only the line. So it's 380 or something, the whole art. Yeah. It's just a different feeling if you can actually experience it. That's also a thing I want to combine, illustration and experience, that you are able to find your own way and access to it. Yeah. And also to put something of yourself in. For example, if someone says, I'm really interested in that melting technique you use. So
yeah, can you talk a little bit more about the melting technique?
Yeah, of course.
Because I found that fascinating with this big machine that you have that you go...
Yeah, yeah, it's quite...
I hope that wasn't too loud in the microphone. Like
quite nerdy. Yeah. So there's illustrations, for example. I use plastic foil and I cut it and then I do layers. And those foils are actually like schoolbook covers you use to protect your schoolbooks. And so they have those very 90s, 80s colors, which I really love. And then you have like a massive heat press, and then you.
Would you find those still? Do they still make them?
You can still buy them. Like you can still buy them everywhere, which is good. But the heat press is a bit more difficult. Like I used to have a regular one.
But they were not meant for that, right?
No.
This is something that you do.
Yeah,
okay.
it's something new. And then I found like a really massive one, and it's for, I think, to cover on blisters the backs, which are like with aluminium. So you have to use two hands, and like you do this. And it has a lot of pressure and 300 degrees, and then the melting gets unseparate, like just as one layer. And I really like this overlaps you get out of this. So you need some muscles and like a big table, and it does like a lot of, I don't know, it's like the whole table is shaking when I'm just like, poof, and then it's done. And then I take it out, I'm like, that's it. Also, it's nice because when I do those illustrations, I
have to have one
shapes.
picture of you when you open it and you you say that.
Yeah, it's in the video actually.
Okay.
So I'm like, ooh. Yeah, it's really nice because I was thinking about it like a sandwich maker. So you put nice ingredients in there, and you have an idea of a recipe, and you don't know if it's tasty. So you have to bake it, and then you take it out, and you're like, I like it. So
that's an awesome metaphor.
Yeah, I try to make it like baking.
So Carsten says,
cool.
really like this color palette.
Yeah, thank you.
Basically, that's a color palette dictated by necessity at that point, because the plastics are that color. It's not like you decide which colors you would like.
Yes, exactly. And also I think that makes it kind of a bit retro, because you get this feeling of maybe 80s, 90s, and then also I transfer this into when I'm doing drawings, so it's really nice to take this exploration and put it in another technique. And to have to connect them, because they're really different. For example, this one, from its style, it's very different to the cutouts. So I was drawing like this, and I was like, yeah, it's getting boring. So I tried to find something new, and I was playing with the shapes. I was like, I need a way to fix them. So I searched for this massive melting machine, and now I can do it. Yeah.
Awesome. Any other projects that you're very proud of and that you want the community to see? As an introduction to Nadine, because we're going to be talking about Nadine and Laura and Isabel this whole year.
Yeah, it's true. I could maybe show you this one. It's like a big wall I made, and it's different ways of kind of this really flat styrofoam. So you could rearrange it, and I tried to do like the melting in a bigger scale, so people could rearrange those shapes. So that's like a connection part between the selfie park and the foil.
So it's like with magnets?
No, with pins. So they could pin it
okay.
and repin it, yeah. So this was something nice. Maybe also this one. So those are patches I did. So it's like you could do an original and you directly patch it on someone. So it's like kind of, I thought of it like tattoos, because everyone's getting tattoos lately, and you place them differently, like you print a picture. So maybe you have it on your ribs. And it's like parts of the shirt where people can't really print on it because it's complicated. But with my technique, I can do it all over. So it was like, how about using that like I would use a tattoo if I would be a tattoo artist. So.
And you know, one project I would like you to talk about is the one where you got all the emails and never opened them.
Oh yeah, right. Oh,
do you want to talk about that?
Yes.
Yeah, that's too funny.
Yeah, it was.
I probably would do the same, you know. But that's a cool story.
Yeah, it was this one. So it was my first really big job, and I didn't know because I was in uni and it was middle of the night, and I got a call from someone from America being like, did you check your emails? It's really urgent. I was like, who is this? Like middle in the night. And it was YouTube official, and they've been writing me like emails saying like, hey, we like your work. Could you sign this? It's like highly confidential. Give us the information about yourself, and we tell you what it's about. And I was like, that's weird. That's scam. And then I put it in my bin, like I think 3 times or something. So
like spam.
yeah,
spam,
I trashed all the emails, and then when they were calling me, I turned like really pale in the middle of the night. I was like, there's emails. And they're like, yes, we send you emails. That's right. And I was like, oh Jesus. So I totally forgot about it, and then it came to me, and I had only like 2 days left. So in 6 hours, I had to do these illustrations, but I was so energized from this and also from the short deadline that I did them in 6 hours. And those are actually, the project was about fan-based comments from YouTubers, and they would ask them, like, I think 6 artists to do comment-based images. So it would be like, because of you, I go outside every day and I look at my world differently. Or the one on the top here was like, your videos make me smile every day. So, and that's, I think, really nice to put that in an illustration because it's kind of a quote, but you build an image around it. So I thought it was such a nice project, and I was so glad I picked up the phone. Like, imagine I would have just slept. It was 3 in the morning, so I would have missed that chance. So sometimes chances come to you in different ways, and yeah. I'm
Any
so
comments
grateful.
from you, Laura and Isabel, about Nadine's project?
I mean, I love it. I'm super, super curious for what's going to happen and how people
Yeah.
can be involved. I hope I can be involved too.
Yeah.
I think when I first saw it, I didn't even realize they were plastic. I thought it's all
Yeah.
vector. So when I
Yeah.
actually saw like how he made those things, that was the most interesting part.
Yeah, and I'm really interested in that because people are so, as digital natives, we're so used that something must be Photoshopped, like your picture, so that must be Photoshopped or it must be curves. But actually, we're living in a reality which is very mixed. I'm talking to my friends on some chat rooms, but also in person, so it's not like one or the other, it's like a mixture, and I think that's like a very big potential. And also to include the community. So my project for the residency will also be a lot of research, asking the people. I will do like 3 creative camps in 3 cities, doing like a kind of exploration tour with this unrun drawing. And I want to invite the community, but also the not designers, so the neighbors, to chip in what they think is missing or relevant, or what is out of the focus, but should be more in the center of the perception. Yeah.
Also ihr alle in Deutschland, Augen auf, folgt der Nadine und der Laura. Das wird super spannend in Deutschland im nächsten Jahr. Und let's switch back to English. And you were just scared there that I was going to ask you stuff in German, right?
Oh yeah, it'd be great. It's fine, I can do that.
So Isabel,
Yes.
tell us a little bit about you.
So
I'm going to move over to your...
got my Behance.
Yes.
So I have a not so fresh Behance. Had a little while. So I'm the first resident from the UK, which is why we have to do it in English.
Yes.
Which is really exciting, also a little bit scary because I don't think many people in the residency, like people know about the residency in England. So if you're English and you did know about it, great, you knew more than me. I saw an advert and I was like, oh, I'll apply to this and see what happens. And here I am in Barcelona. But I'm the graphic designer and typographer of the group. So I'm doing work that's based on letter forms and typography-led design, but also it more widely explores the theme of language. So I also do a little bit of art direction. It's not just going to be limited to typefaces, but that's kind of where it starts.
So one thing I really liked about Isabel's approach is her getting things done. Because one big problem for you was like to get the first jobs that were not paid, which is something that if you have an agency, don't do that. Like not pay people, that's so uncool. And so with this little anger and frustration, she went back to Leeds and opened her own company. And I think that was a really great story because anything is possible.
Yeah, and I mean, I was a little bit reluctant to start a company. Like, I wasn't one of these people who thought, oh, you know what, I'm just going to go out and start my own studio. I wanted to do the normal thing of getting a design job in a studio, but I found that a lot of people wouldn't pay you, particularly in England. And I think it's there. If you have a studio, please pay your interns because it's so important. I had some great internships, but a lot of them weren't in England. A lot of them were abroad in Copenhagen and places like that. And so I kind of wanted to do something a little bit different in England, and we're hoping to take an intern soon and actually pay them. And it's just about...
For exposure does not work.
Yeah, it does not work. So, I just wanted to change things a bit. And the easiest thing is to just do it and have a go and see what happens. And I think sometimes being a bit naive isn't a bad thing. I went into it not really knowing what I was doing, but I think that was probably for the best. And it's turned out okay so far.
And that project is called Atypical?
Yeah, we're called Atypical, as in does not conform.
Is that do you have a website for that?
Yes.
Maybe that's more up to date than your Behance?
We have a show reel on my website, which we don't have to watch now, but you're welcome to watch later. So you can check out our website. We'll put the links and stuff. But that's got a little bit of everything we do. I have a business partner who makes films and does photography. So hi, Jacob, if you're watching, by the way, I think you are. So our show reel has not just my typographic work, but also some art direction, some film. We're trying to make brands more culturally relevant and makes content that really resonates with youth, because I feel like a lot of advertising just doesn't do that. So we're trying to take a more ethical approach with everything.
So your creative residency project involves a lot of research as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm super interested in talking to people, and I'm interested in getting inspiration for work and typography that doesn't just come from the design sphere. I love Behance and I love things like this, but I'm really interested in talking to people. I'm also interested in asking people surveys online. One of my graduation projects I did was based on the British stiff upper lip phenomenon, where we don't talk about how we feel. And I went to a train station and asked a bunch of people how they felt, and everybody told me they were fine, or to leave them alone, or they just ignored me entirely. And then I put an anonymous comment box on the internet and went, tell me how you feel. And the world really responded. Oh. And so then I tried to visualize some of these things through photography. So somebody told me that they were bitter, so then I made some lemons given to you by life. There's all sorts here, and this was just more of a fun way of me to explore language. I'm tired of fake apologies, all sorts of things like this. Lots of people feel socially anxious, so I played with some balloons. Now, I'm not a photographer, but it was just a really fun experiment for me that used language a bit differently. And there's all sorts of interesting things on here, and I'm hoping to bring this project back a little bit this year. So if anyone wants to tell me how they're feeling or tell me weird things that I can have about visualizing.
Do you get any positive feelings, like I'm happy?
I mean, sometimes you did, but it's really interesting. Anonymously, people tend to tell you the sad stuff. And that kind of says something to me about British culture, that people need to be talking more about how they feel in the open with other people.
If somebody would ask me, how are you feeling? I say, I'm happy.
I'm happy,
and But genuinely.
Maybe the Germans are happy.
No, I think in general people don't talk about their bad feelings as openly as about their happy feelings. Definitely not.
But it's something I try and do with animation as well. I'm not just interested in photography. I'm also interested in how we can actually visualize feelings using animation and that kind of thing. Because I think typography can be really fun, and often it gets stuck in this really rigid, scientific kind of way of doing things. So I just want to bring a bit of the fun back.
A lot of cool comments here for you. Great inspiration, really good from Emmanuel. Muito bom mesmo.
Oh,
that's Portuguese. Lovely work, Isabel. Cool project from Oscar. Thank you, guys.
That's really nice. But sometimes I also find it difficult to work. Sometimes I used to make GIFs like this distraction GIF because I was distracting myself from my actual work. So I think sometimes the best things come when you're actually supposed to be doing something else.
You have one for procrastination?
I do have one for procrastination.
Really? Because this is my big problem.
Yeah, definitely.
Are you a procrastinator?
Yeah.
Or you just get stuff done?
I think I'm more like,
but
okay, let's do this.
Yeah, okay.
I procrastinate by doing other work. So if I'm supposed to be working on one thing,
like tidying up your room when you should do emails.
Definitely.
Exactly. Yeah. And in fact, like this project here, I did when I was supposed to be doing other things. I was supposed to be doing client work, and I thought, oh, you know what? I feel like time's just getting away from me, and I don't feel very optimistic, and it doesn't matter anyway. So I made a clock that was a little bit nihilist about how that actually looks, and actually. This turned out to be the thing that people loved most, was not the real project I was doing, but this fun side project. Cool. I'm really interested in how we put language in the real world in a way you can interact with. want it to just be a typeface on a screen or in a printed book. I want it to be a clock or posters, so I made a remix poster where we remixed the word remix. So I'm really interested in little funny words and phrases, sometimes also things that feel like you can't translate them, that you want to visualize. I'm interested in funny things, like I made some postcards from real life instead of the ones on holiday. Like I feel like my life's a little bit of a balancing act at the moment. So I like making little funny things like this. I'm also playing with augmented reality this year. So we're currently working...
Talk to us a little bit about your project. What's your vision for this year?
Yeah, so my overall project is called Character, because character can mean a characteristic or it can mean a letter in a typeface. And it's just more of an experimental project about how we visualize language. And I'm going to be doing that through some of the things we've looked at so far, animation, print design, typefaces, and then with augmented reality, I'm looking at making some of these posters, and then you can hover over them and they'll change and react, and we've got some of that in the works. There's actually an exhibition in London in June called New Designers, where you can come and play with some AR, hopefully. So I'm super interested in that. Also in thinking about how people perceive their own accents, how they perceive their own countries and language. I'm really interested in like new words, like you guys taught me a new word, fingertip feeling. What is it?
Fingerspitzengefühl. Yeah, it's very German.
Yeah, and that's kind of hard to translate, because I don't know, how would you translate it? It's like when you know something's right, or
when you just have the feeling of something which is very particular.
There we go.
Yeah, if you go to the details and you do it like right in the details, I guess. Fingerspitzen. Or if you like, you know how to be gentle with someone also. You have like some Fingerspitzengefühl
to be gentle but on point.
So I'm really interested in how would you visualize words like that, where
and it's also like the ability to strike the right notes, for example.
Right. Yeah, true. Maybe that's where it's coming from, actually.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But I think this is
I love the meaning of words. That's why I'm always thinking, okay, where did that come from? Why do they say it like that?
And English is such a big language, and I feel like we also don't celebrate like a lot of things sometimes. We don't celebrate where all these words come from and all the different cultures and languages we have.
Victor is asking, what's the name of the exhibition in London?
It's called New Designers 1 Year In.
And Simon is asking, which program do you use for augmented reality? Well, that's an exploration, so we don't know yet, right?
Yeah, we're trying a few things. Like we're flying out to LA to do some exciting things. I've got some things planned in London, maybe. So at the moment, we're just seeing what works best, because we'll probably end up using different things for what works better.
Yeah, and it's for both of us like the next step to look at a new technology. So that's kind of what we're also learning in this program, not to do where you come from, but also to take a look at the next step. Yeah.
I can see people.
Also in
Sweden has that word.
Yeah, Fingertoppskänsla.
So I'm super interested in all of this. So if you have any words from your culture, stuff that you think is really interesting, or little insights, then please email me. I also, on my Instagram, I collect really weird typography that I see outside. Like there's some black letter here, but this black letter is from Leeds. This is not German black letter. This is Leeds imposter black letter.
But is that Chablon sprayed? Yeah.
Like
it's not
stencils.
No, it's stencils.
Yeah.
So I'm really interested in weird typography. So if you see any weird typography, send that to me too. We have some really sort of weird stuff in Leeds, and I've seen. This is probably the worst example. It's my favorite worst example. This is a store in Leeds. I don't know who thought to make an eye of fish with a ball on its nose, but so I'm really interested in kind of typography we see in the everyday, and not necessarily the clean stuff that has a really interesting message behind it. And so that's why there's a lot of social research in my work, as well as just the finished projects.
Any project that you're particularly proud of, or that that made you think, let's go on with this. Let's do it.
I mean, interestingly, a lot of my projects, when I did them at university, people didn't fully understand them, but I think that's because sometimes it's really hard to visualize stuff. When you say, oh yeah, I want to make a nihilist clock, people go, okay, how are you going to do that? But
whatever, Isabel.
Yeah, exactly. But for example, this clock, I'm now making a series, so I've made an optimist clock that has 13 hours in the day, because we all know people always think they can get more done.
I need that.
See, there we go. So I think this kind of series that I did, that I'm exhibiting in London, we're still expanding this. There's going to be new work on display. I think this is the one I'm most proud of because I threw it together in like 2 weeks.
People want that clock. Yeah,
Yeah, we are going to be selling this.
Yeah,
We've got prototypes coming next week. So as soon as we can do that, then I'll let you guys know, or follow me, email me, and you can get your hands on one, and all the new clocks and stuff we've got coming.
So a misunderstood project that's become reality.
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's what the residency is about, though, right?
Right.
Taking a chance on something that could be interesting.
And talking about that, let's just wrap it up here and talk a little bit about going to each one of you. What's your expectation? How do you see yourself after a year of residency? What is it you hope to achieve?
I mean, I hope that I've managed to myself find out and show to other people a different perspective about age, and of course also learn like something about filming, about photography, about how to photograph old people, because I normally photograph people who have like no wrinkles, and I guess you have to go different about someone who looks different, and sharing all of that, and hopefully, I don't know, getting some community interaction in it and learning from other people.
Yeah, for me it's like to learn.
Same.
Yeah,
No.
same. My wrinkles. No, it's more about like pushing the boundaries and not being afraid of taking a new step and exploring something which is really new and maybe weird, and people be like, why you do that? It's really nerdy or quirky, and maybe you should just be playful with it, give it a go, and then put it out there, have the people see it and just have a discussion about it. I think that's really nice.
Yeah, and I think I want to really celebrate language and kind of make typography fun and bring it into the real world, and also uses it as a really good excuse to talk to people about culture and language. That's what I love to do. So I think that's really important, and also it gives you access to all these great people, so that I can actually really make these things happen now.
Awesome. So welcome to the Creative Residency. I wish you the best of luck for this year. It's been a tough few weeks already. I hope you can get some rest time now after off. Yes, because their first week of the residency, they were shipped over to New York at the 99U conference, which is the big Adobe Behance conference, and then Typo Berlin the week after that, and the week after that again. Yes, right?
Yeah.
It never
Barcelona.
stopped. Barcelona.
And next week Munich.
So what's the next steps? Is the next big conference Max, or is there stuff before that? I know you're going to do a course in Reading,
yeah,
right?
so I'm doing a type design course in Reading, and then I have New Designers 1 year in exhibition in London, and then I think we have Max.
Yeah. And for us, we have next weekend actually in Munich.
Ah, that's right. The Forward Festival.
Yeah.
For those of you in Germany, it's going to be in Munich and Zurich, right? Or are you just Munich?
Only Munich.
Only Munich.
Yeah.
Okay, so Laura and Nadine will be at the Munich Forward Festival, so check
Next
it out.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Check it out. How do you say that in German?
Kommt vorbei.
Kommt vorbei.
Check it out.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So thank you guys for coming here on stream. Like I said, what?
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
I wasn't expecting that.
So polite.
So British.
Yeah. Almost like a news anchor,
Yeah.
like for me. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, the best of luck. Thank you to the chat for giving your support to Laura, Nadine, and Isabel. Make sure to follow them. It's a super interesting series of projects. And if you're interested about the Adobe Creative Residency, just Google it, Adobe Creative Residency, and maybe somebody from my team here can just put in a URL to the program. And hey, who knows? Maybe you're going to be the creative resident next year. So never give up. Everybody's got a chance, and we're going to be right back on stream. Just let me check my schedule here. On Thursday with Michael Schauer, and we're going to be talking photography again. You know Michael?
Yeah.
Yes? Yeah. There we go.
Really awesome landscape photography.
Landscape photography. So stay tuned. We're going to be back in 5 minutes. And thank you again.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.